Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be solving LeetCode 1450, number of students doing homework at a given time. So for this problem, we are given two arrays, start time and end time, and a query time, which is an integer. And we need to check whether this query time integer is within the start time and end time at the ith position. So going off of example 1, we would check 1 and 3 is 4 within the range of 1 to 3. It is not. So then we continue on to the next student. We check 2 and 2 is 4 within that range. No, it is not. We continue on to the next one. Then we check 3 and 7 is 4 within the range of 3 to 7. It is. So we increment our a counter by 1, and then we just return that in this example. So they do want the number of students doing their homework at the query time. So how can we solve this problem? Well, we already know we're going to need a counter. So let's say counter is going to be equal to 0. And we're going to have to keep track of what position we're at in the start time and end time. So we'll say left will be 0 and right will also be 0, right? We'll use 2 pointers. So we'll say left will be here, right will be here, and then we'll just check our range if 4 is in the range of those two values. If it's not, then we just increment both of our pointers by 1, and that's how we're going to iterate through these arrays to solve this problem. So let's check our constraints first. We have start time and end time, the length of them are going to be equal to each other. Okay. Start time length can be in the range of 1 to 100. Start time, end time, query time. Okay. So let's say, since we know that both of the arrays are going to be equal in length, let's just say while our right pointer is less than the length of the end time array. All right, we're just going to do this loop. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to check if this query time is between the range of 1 to 3. How can we do that? We can just say if the value at start time of our left pointer, if that is less than or equal to our query time, and if our query time is less than or equal to the end time of our right pointer, then we know we have a student who is studying within that time period. So once we find a student, what do? We increment our counter by 1. Otherwise, if we don't find a student, right? Let's take example 1. We'll say the first student started studying at 1 and stopped studying at 3. Well, this query time is not in that range, so we just continue. So what do? We just increment our pointers by 1 and move on to the next student. So let's do that. We'll exit this if block, and we'll say left plus equals 1, right plus equals 1. And what do we want to return? We want to return the number of students studying during this time period. So we just return our counter. So let's get rid of some spaces, and let's run this, make sure it runs. So we pass both test cases. We'll submit. And we pass. So what is the runtime of this algorithm? Well, we are running this while loop while our right pointer is less than the length of our end time, right? So this is only ever going to execute while right is still within the range of the list length. So that will give us a runtime of O of n. And what is the every other operation we're doing here is just O of 1. But what is the space complexity, right? We're not creating any new data structures. We're only creating some variables to hold some integers. So that would make our space complexity O of 1, and that'll do it for LeetCode 1450.